First things first, I'm not reviewing the actual game as seen from the original, but rather the work that has been put into the remaster just released. If you have not yet played Final Fantasy IX, then I highly recommend doing so if you're a fan of good RPGs with epic stories. That being said, let's move on to what's new. The team that were tasked with this remaster have clearly spent a lot of time sprucing up the content that was originally there. By this I mean the models and characters featured in the original. A great amount of detail has been added to these models, and it really shows. It was a real treat to be able to look back on those characters I had only previously seen in their low-resolution origins in their new high-definition glory. There was an amazing amount of detail with Final Fantasy IX that didn't really shine through on the PlayStation, with the limitations of the console. That is no longer the case, and previously unseen details are as clear as day. Just look at those pimples on Sinner's face. The weapon models were also detailed, with embellishers working to enrich the gameplay as opposed to barely being squished into view. They also added in a nice little feature which allows players to be able to detect NPCs who you can duel with in Tetra Master. Tetra Master is the main minigame in Final Fantasy IX, and it was also treated with some TLC, with each of the cards getting a gorgeous new high resolution image. I must admit that in the past a lot of these cards seemed like just a mess of colour and didn't do a great job at depicting the entity it was supposed to represent, but that is no longer the case. I am ashamed to admit that I had the image of the Fang creature way off from what it was supposed to be. I'm still just as bad at the game as I've ever been, however, and if anybody can figure out what those numbers and letters mean on the cards, be sure to leave a comment so I can at least win a few rounds. The team have massively increased the possible save file slots with a huge selection to choose from. With 10 slots and many more individual slots within those slots, you'll be hard pressed to use up all these save spaces. As was the custom in the early days of 3D console gaming, the backgrounds were pre-rendered and the remaining objects placed on top. This of course meant to upscale the backgrounds to the same amount of detail, as the new models would in fact be an entire remake of the game. The development team did a good job to get the level of detail out of these that they did, but it is still painfully low quality when compared to the rest of the game. Even the menus and the speech bubbles look super sharp, especially when placed against the pre-rendered backgrounds. The new PC version of the game comes with some additional features such as boosting and autosaving. I did not see any evidence of autosaving, but it's a welcome feature. Being forced to save in specific locations is not something that I miss when it comes to older games. I had one niggle though, and it's a minor one, which I hope will get patched out soon, and it's that you can't quit the game whilst in full screen unless you minimise, right click, close, open the game back up and then select the quit option. Overall, I'm extremely excited to give this remaster the full works. If you're a fan of Final Fantasy IX, or a fan of RPGs in general, I cannot recommend this game enough, and if you're going to buy it, then I recommend buying this version. I hope you've enjoyed this video review. Stay tuned for more Geek Pride reviews, and make sure to check out our website.